Hey, welcome to another episode of the Rock Therapy Show on Musicians on the Record. It's not talk therapy, it's rock therapy, where we have conversations about music and mental health. I'm David Ward, licensed psychotherapist and unlicensed drummer, and my next guest has an amazing, inspiring story. Quite frankly, a riches to rock bottom to redemption story, actually. We're going to be talking with Leif Garrett on the show today. Leif Garrett was one of the biggest music stars in the world in the mid to late 1970s, making records, touring the world on the cover of magazines, dating famous actresses, and hanging out with rock stars like Queen, Aerosmith, and Zeppelin. And whether you were into his music or not, there are some good lessons on the Rock Therapy Show today, some great reminders, and he's got quite a story. He's also written a book telling the tale where you can pick it up wherever you can buy books, called Idle Truth, and it reads like an amazing flashback to that period in time. It's great. We started our Rock Therapy Show interview with Leif talking about going through a difficult time in his family.
Yeah, I mean, I could use some couch time. I just recently lost my dad.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's such his life, and that's that's okay. It's, I've been dealing with it, and that's,
Sure.
that's part of life. It's just, it's harder than people think, and especially when, I was caretaking for 3 years before that.
That's a lot.
And now, I've got my mom living with me, and, kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's not like, as hard as it is, it's not like I would ever bow out and say, okay, that's it.
Right.
Send them both to a home or whatever, one of them, or I would never do that, because I believe in the adage, treat others as you want done unto yourself.
Yes. Right.
So, yeah, you know what I mean?
Sure. You bet. You bet. Yeah. But it's sort of the challenge is, how do you take care while giving care around all of that? Because that's a lot of work.
Pretty much, man.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if people really realize how much time it involves, because it's, it's hard to, like, I've been trying to promote a book.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Rebuild or reinvent a career.
Yeah.
And do this at the same time, and deal with two sisters who, because I was also put in charge of the trust.
Okay. Yep.
So I got a lot on my plate right now, and it's really intense.
Sure. Sounds it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, certainly we could talk about any and all of that you'd want, because I think one of the things that I like, with doing this, Leif, is, you get to share whatever you want, but certainly with your sort of career and your reach, whatever you decide to share, I think could be helpful to a lot of other people going through some similar circumstances too, because when they see folks like, oh, this guy who reached the top of the mountain even has human challenges and struggles, right? So,
well, I agree with you, and that's a thing that has been a running theme in my life, that, or I'm sure with many people, even such as yourself, people don't really understand, or they just somehow think you're different.
Yeah.
Because you're on the radio or on television or a musician or whatnot, when you're really just, the bottom line is you're a human being.
Right.
And we all go through the same things, man. There's life and death and sickness and issues that, that family stuff that is very challenging and very, but my life has pretty much been an open book. And, I don't mind that, when I know that I've opened the book or someone's opened the book, when I'm at home and I try and have the sanctuary, the getaway, the place of peace. Yeah. That's when, I get maybe, like I've had people just show up at my house.
Really?
And yeah, man. I used to have people sleeping outside my front door.
Wow.
That was when I was younger, of course. Now it's, they get a hotel room. But down the street.
Right.
But show up and be like, hey, it's like,
Yeah.
You owe me.
Right.
Owe you what?
Right.
What do I owe you? Well, I bought your records, and yes, I agree that you're the reason that I'm able to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
And I'm very appreciative,
yes.
But there's got to be some downtime for myself.
Right.
Just as any human being needs.
Right. But people we think there's this sort of agreement that, I mean, you make the music, we enjoy it, but some people think that there's more owed or kind of an agreement.
Right. I think people think that because you're a celebrity, or so to speak, that whenever you're out in public, and I kind of have to agree with this, because how can you not? Mm-hmm. I think there's boundaries. Like when you go out in public, like here's an example. Justine Bateman and I used to go out, mm-hmm. and as you know, she was on Family Ties.
Yes.
And myself, both of us being celebrities, whatnot. We're out at dinner one night, and somebody walks over to the table, and it literally just got served our food, and we've had a couple of bites, mm-hmm. and we're eating, and Justine's taking a bite, and somebody grabs her arm and says, no, don't take that bite. Sign this.
Wow.
It's like, and she kind of flipped out a little bit, Yeah. And I have a little more restraint than that. I'm a little more diplomatic, whereas, some people, it's difficult, or it's, maybe, thought of as that they have the right to do that. And I think that there could be that right, but you know what? It's important, because what that person walks away with, the memory of meeting you and whatnot, they'll remember you being diplomatic and being kind and nice and saying, hey, do you mind? I mean, I'll sign this right now. But if it's like a bunch of different things, it's like, can we finish our meal and then,
right.
Gladly, sign whatever you want or take any photos you want, whatnot. But, we're here on a date,
right.
And that should be, a boundary that should be respected. Right. But I think that when celebrities and people in the public's eye are out in public, that's your fair game, Yeah.
The boundaries seem much different.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's wrong when, there's photographers. See, I'm just so glad back in the day when I was like, as people say, the Justin Bieber of the 70s,
mm-hmm.
that there weren't the telephone, well, they were the telephone, but they weren't using helicopters and whatnot to photograph you, in your private space from an angle where they could get you in your private space.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Amazing.
And I just think that that's just wrong.
Sure. No question. And I mean, this was, a time in the late 70s was the boom for you. And this was way before social media and all of that.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that has affected you?
Wow, man. It's funny. That's a really good question to ask me right now, because I'm dealing with that as we speak. As much as I didn't even want to get a cell phone. I didn't even want a cell phone. I didn't want to be that available to anybody. I mean, and I don't mean, like my girlfriend or my mom or my dad, but,
right.
I didn't want to be that available to, like, an agent or a manager calling. And, and now the way the game's played is like, everything is instant.
Right.
It is like, it's a disposable world, and everything is instant.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't get a hold of somebody on 2-3 rings of the phone, it's like, you get it angry.
Right.
It's crazy, because everyone expects you to be that of it. But like I said, I didn't want to even have a cell phone, and I waited out. I held out for the longest time. But now I understand you have to play the game the way the game's being played. You can't make the rules.
Right.
The rules are made, and this is the game, and this is the way it's played, and you got to go by it, or you just do what you do, and hopefully it works, or maybe it doesn't, whatever. But you have to understand the way that the masses, if you will, we the people for the people, works.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely new world, new rules, right? And
absolutely, man.
But the thing I read,
you get that. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and the going back to your dinner story with Justine Bateman, the average person, if somebody came up to them and grabbed their arm at dinner and said, "Sign this," people don't even think about like, well, that's an intrusion, right?
Right. No, most people would be like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. Oh,
yeah, you can swear. It's fine. It's all good.
What are you doing? Like what?
Right.
Or stand up and punch them. Whatever. Right. But that's just it. People think sometimes, and it's not everybody. Mm-hmm. It's just some people that think that being a celebrity means that you're almost like a robot, or you're like a I don't even know, like you're not human.
Right.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
But I'm dealing with right now. I'm trying to get on to deal with it's funny because I did try it for a short time a little earlier on, a couple of years ago. There's a chat line there's a bunch of fans that I have, and I have an amazing fan base. I just absolutely adore my fans because I don't know. Maybe other people have it as loyal too, like maybe Elvis did and other stuff like that, and the Beatles and whatnot. But my fan base, they're just so loyal and so awesome. And they have a chat room on Saturday nights where they just talk about me. And it's like, you guys, okay, wow, get a Leif. Right. But it's like, that I have to. I went on to try and talk to him, and no one believed it was me.
Yeah, right.
And, I'm trying to convince him it's me. And it's like I wasted a half hour when I could have been speaking with them and saying hello, trying to convince him it was me.
Right, right.
So it's crazy.
No doubt. Right? Man, yeah, it's definitely a whole new world. I've been reading some of your book, Idle Truth, and I want, there's a lot of great stuff. I mean, the mid to late 70s was quite a time for music. And, when I talk with folks who write their books, especially from, back in the day, and we've all had obstacles and challenges, I'm curious, what was it like emotionally for you going through some of these stories from your first, big break to, where things are today? What was your emotional journey you went through writing this?
Oh, it's been such a roller coaster ride. The ups and downs, and that's true with everybody's life. There's no such thing as that perfect level plane. And plus, if it was, it would be so boring and monotonous, we would hate it. Yeah. So it's, as much as we get upset as human beings at the bad times, the way I try and live my life is I try to walk the walk and talk the talk. I want to be honest, and I want to be I want to be as real as I can be with everybody, with everything. And it was like I was very young when I started out on the road, and I didn't have a parental figure with me. Okay. It was a management company, and I've been at a young age involved in an adult world, the acting and stuff like that and whatnot. But when you're on the movie set or television set, when you're in town or at home or in the United States, whatnot, or even if it's somewhere abroad, usually have a parent with you, and that was always the case with me and my sister. And but as soon as the music thing started, when I started getting recognition in the teen magazines, and the management company that came and the producer Michael Lloyd came and said, "You want to make a record?" I'd always loved music, but I was not a musician. I was an actor. And even that, I started out doing that starting when I was like 5, 6 years old, It wasn't like I was like, "Mom, I want to be an actor." Yeah. My mom wanted to do it, and then she introduced the agent to us, and the agent said, "Hey, let's sign the kids up too." And we all started working. So, it just sort of took off, and then it became my calling, so to speak, although I think my real calling was a race car driver.
Did you do some of that?
That's something I want to do right now, and I'm trying to put that together.
Cool.
But yeah, so being out on the road, I used to cry myself to sleep a lot of times, being in these gigantic hotel suites, by myself and away from home. And I couldn't leave the hotel without security team and all this other stuff, right, just because because people, there was just people would pull at your hair and your clothing and whatnot and everything. And that is a really incredible thing to go through,
Man.
because it's not only, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's something that it's very, it feels good, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like somebody asked me one time, what's the worst thing about being a teen idol? Or what's the best thing about being a teen idol? I said, the girls. And then they said, well, what's the worst thing? I said, the girls.
Right.
It's you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's when people don't know sometimes when to flip the switch, or like their enthusiasm or their desires or wants or whatever are different from your timing,
Yeah. They literally wanted a piece of you.
Yeah, literally.
Hair, skin, whatever. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Was there a reason? I'm sorry.
Go on.
I was just curious, was there a reason why your mom wasn't there, didn't go on the road with you, Leif?
Well, I think the management, the Scotty brothers, were really the ones who were instrumental in that, because not only was my sister working and mom was there with her, my sister and my mom worked in Africa on the Born Free stuff. And so, like, there were times, when it wasn't feasible for all of us to be together, or my mom to go out with me. But it was I think a financial thing as well.
Yeah.
Having my mom obviously would have stayed in the same room as me, but maybe it just didn't work as far as what they were thinking. As a young man at his sort of age of becoming a man,
right?
Having mommy,
right? Yeah.
Sure. But at the same time, it's like I sort of needed a grounding point.
Yeah.
Instead of having somebody who I just met, a road manager, going out, or the manager going out with me.
Yes.
And so also the downside of that is that when you don't have a parent around, those guys, the A&R guys, and not the road manager or the manager so much, and matter of fact, not at all, but there were other issues, but and you'll read about that in the book, is that, they're offering you drugs and stuff because they think of you as an adult.
Sure.
Because I was never around that. And it wasn't until the music industry that I was introduced to that stuff.
Yeah. And can I ask, how old were you about when that all started for you?
Well, it was different for each drug. Marijuana, the first time I think I was 15.
Okay.
And or right before I turned 15, and that's about the same age as when I lost my virginity. Well, I gave it away. And as far as like harder drugs like coke and stuff like that, that was not until I was like 16. But still, at 16, that's like
still pretty young.
Very young.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still developing mentally,
right,
and trying to deal with issues of this grandeur of like life is just this incredibly celebrated, or I'm this celebrated. It's like being a prince, or you know what I mean? Like that's sort of weird. Like people always, wanting to know you, be around you when they don't know you at all.
Right.
And just are infatuated or intrigued by your look, your style, your whatever,
And one of the things I was wondering about is, you're 15, 16, this machine is being built around you to, make you the star. How much control or say did you have? Music? Okay, yeah, I'm getting the picture, but please say more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, let me, please. I had none. And it's a shame too, because if when I say they, I speak of the management. It wasn't the record label, Atlantic Records. They were amazing. And it was the management, the Scotty brothers, that took me off of the label early, off of the contract, and started their own label, and realized that they could make a lot more money that way. But the thing is, they never thought long term.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Europe, this is like 78, 79, new wave started happening.
Right.
That sort of stuff. And I got a hold of, because I met them, I was doing a German television show with a couple of them. Mm-hmm. One was the band M Factor. Well, it was really just a person who did the song Pop Music.
Yes.
New York, London, Paris, Munich, everybody talk about pop music, that song, which became a big hit in America. And then also De Commissar, which is by Falco.
Right.
And there was another one, and I'm blanking the name right now, but I brought 3 songs back from Europe with me, and I said, okay, I got the okay from the writers and the producers and whoever owned it, publishing wise, to do the songs, and we got the okay. These songs are going to be hits. Well, I was told by the head of the label, Tony, that I didn't know what I was talking about, and they know what to do, and I should just, shut up. Do what I'm told, and everything will be fine. Well, that's not the case. It's, as we know, there's a certain amount of time for a teen idol. Yeah. I believe, and I truly believe this, this is just of my own, happenings and witness, that a teen idol's career only lasts at the most 5 years, unless you are able to cross over and start appealing to people in the adult world. Because when you're a teen idol, it's infatuation and premature child lust.
Right.
When you're starting to have feelings of sexual nature. Yeah. But as soon as the person has sex, and I don't mean like me, a teen idol, I mean the people, buying the records and stuff, when they move on to Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, the Stones. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a more mature understanding, if you will, of lyrical content and musical emotion.
Right. We grow up, right?
Right. We grow up. So unless we grow up with the audience or let them grow up with me, then we're done after 5 years, because you can't keep doing the bubblegum pop stuff and then think as a 40-year-old man or 35-year-old man or whatever, that stuff's going to work.
And were you feeling good about the music that you were making at the time, or were you inspired or listening to other, you mentioned like Falco and were you listening to other things too that you were into?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I loved the disco period because there was a lot of great music.
Yeah.
For the most part, most people just can't, rockers and things like that. They say it sucked and it was horrible and it's, whatnot. But there was a lot of great music, and a lot of people from that era, like Nile Rodgers and people like, producing Duran Duran and stuff. There was good music. I like disco. I like dance music. I like funk. Yeah. I like, the dance music stuff. But I also like, rock, hard rock. I like pop rock. I like classical. I like the only music that I'm not really keen toward, or gravitated to is I think polka.
Okay.
And
that's a niche audience. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a niche audience.
Right.
There's some good Western stuff. I like Johnny Cash, whatnot,
sure.
But for the most part, I'm not really into the twang, if you will. But there's great music and stuff, but I liked the music I was doing, but I knew that I wanted to do other stuff.
Right.
Because I was originally really into like Elton John, Led Zeppelin. That was really the stuff that I was listening to. So to do the disco stuff, that's fine, because, that's what it was happening at the time, and that's okay.
Right.
Even the Stones had to address it.
That's right.
And Zeppelin, the Stones had to come out with Miss You.
Yes.
Because that's what was happening, and that's a great dance song. But you just incorporate it into your style, and then, it's all good.
Right. And you have a chapter on, I was curious about, you've got a chapter on Zeppelin and Queen and Joe Perry in your book. Yeah. Can you tell a couple of stories about your connections with them?
Mm-hmm. Well, the best is, and this is the best story. I love this story because it's just so it encompasses like, a fan, me.
Yeah.
And being a fan, I mean, me at the time, and me also being famous for doing music and stuff. But I was on a plane to Germany, to Munich, and it just so happens that Andy Gibb, God, rest in peace, young man, that we were at the same time to promote our records, and we were staying at the same hotel, oddly enough, and we befriended each other on the plane, and then we got to the hotel around the same time, and as we're both standing there checking into the hotel, the elevators are off to the left from the counter, and you hear the ding, and then automatically you look over because it's a noise or whatever. It's like Pavlov's dog,
right?
And out walks the entire band, Queen. Now I was a fan from the long before I started doing anything, and I it was like, oh my god, and and that was a moment when I really felt what it was, because that was the first time I'd ever really got to meet anyone that I admired, and later on I met, other people as well, but I it was just, oh my God, my jaw dropped, whatever. And as Freddie and the rest of the band just walked by like it was nothing, Freddie does a double take, like, oh, and because of his persuasion or use of what he was, his persuasion and whatnot. Right. And so I go up to we check in, go up to the hotel room. I think nothing of it. I didn't even say hello or anything. And I go up to the room, and I get up to the room. The light's flashing on. This is what used to happen on the hotels up in Europe. It is that they had a little light flashing on, and when you had a message. And so I called down. I said, and they said, well, Mr. Mercury left you an envelope. I was like, what? Oh my God! I didn't even take the elevator. I ran down the steps to the front desk and grabbed the envelope, and it was a 0.5 gram of cocaine. Great. Great. Thanks, Freddie.
That was his hello, right?
Yeah, that's his hello, and an invite to come to the studio. Wow. And he also gave one to Andy. So Andy and I spoke, and we both went to the studio, and whether they used him or not, I don't know, but we both did some background vocals for the game. Wow. And it was just an amazing experience. And I stayed friends with Roger. Yes. And he and I stayed friends, still are.
Amazing. Yeah, that's quite an introduction then, right? So
amazing, right? Yeah. I mean, really. Welcome to rock and roll, young lad.
No doubt. That's a great album too, The Game. So
it's a great record. Great record. So
that's Queen. And what about Zeppelin? How did you? What's your connection with Zeppelin? Can I ask?
Well, I've only met Jimmy once briefly at an Atlantic Records. That's hard to say quickly. Yeah. Party in Los Angeles, but that's where I also met Robert, and got to actually speak with him for a little bit. And that was, I also met him backstage at his first solo tour, Pictures at 11, his record Pictures at 11 that he did. And it just so happens that I was sitting right next to Rod Stewart, who I'm actually friends with, that I used to play soccer with quite often. Yeah. So I'm very lucky that I got to meet my idols as well as befriend them.
Yes. Right.
Yeah,
and make some music with them as well, it sounds like. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, God, I would love to have written some songs with any one of them.
Right, no doubt.
But
no doubt. What was, when you look back, Leif, what was the sort of highlight or some of the highlights for you, in addition to what we're talking about, that you just you felt really good about with your music and your career that just makes you happy today?
Well, I've been a big, large, almost all of it, even though my biggest single was an original. Mm-hmm. Most of my career musically was doing remakes. Mm. And the record that I did with Rick Finch in Florida is my favorite record, and I like that record a lot. I'm quite proud of it, and I think they're really good song choices. There was the Who's "Can't Explain," which is the album title, and did the old Fleetwood Mac, like Fleetwood Mac before people know Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. when what's his name? Oh my
Peter
God, I
Green?
forgot his name. Yes,
Peter.
thank you.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Who did these? The song. Anyway, it's irrelevant. It's called "Bare Trees," and then did Jay Ferguson's do 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 run run run. So anyway, we did a bunch of really good songs like that, and then that was the very first time that I wrote a song with Rick and Tony Battaglia, who was the guitar player, who was a studio cat who worked with the Eagles and many other people. That we wrote this song called "Love So Cruel," and I happened to write that song about Tatum O'Neal.
Okay.
And interesting enough.
Yeah.
But I'm actually proud of that record. And as soon as I came back, that was the first time I was able to get away from Los Angeles and be away from the management, be away from the label and everyone, and be alone and do the record. As soon as I came back with and this is back when 2-inch tape everything was recorded on 2-inch tape,
right.
not
analog,
digital.
Right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And came back with the tapes under my arm and said, "Here, listen. I'm very proud of them here, and let's hear." And I, let's listen to this. And so he said, "No, here, you listen to this."
Yeah.
And it was a song that his staff writer had written called "Come Back When You Grow Up, Little." No, it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I dislike the song so much that I don't even remember the title.
Okay.
But it didn't represent the album that we just finished. And he said, "Well, we're going to record this and put this on the record." I'm like, "Why? This is the record here." He said, "Well, because this is a single." Well, they released that song first. It did. I think my mom, my sister, my grandmother, and maybe a cousin bought one of them.
Right.
And that was it. So it was like, it didn't represent the record. It never had a chance from the get-go. And I think that they wanted me to fail to begin with because they didn't want me to see that I was able to do something without them.
I see. Yeah.
So,
you were starting to grow as an artist, it sounds like, and move beyond the teen pop star.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And why they didn't from the beginning, because when they first met me, and I first met them, rather, they can you sing? I'm like, well, I can try. I had to learn trial by fire. And there was a lot of time in the studio having to punch things in and whatnot and double and all that. And everyone still doubles and triples and whatnot.
Yep.
Although now it's eventide or whatever the voice pitch modulation that they have.
Yes.
What makes it correct and whatnot. But we didn't have that then. And didn't want to. I just wanted to become a singer. I wanted to become a good singer. And they, didn't even think about that. They just were thinking about selling records. And that's it. And didn't think longevity, like I said. And, it's just a shame because it could have worked. It could have been something that, like Justin Timberlake made a nice crossover.
Yes.
It's a great thing,
Right.
And that's how it can go.
Right.
But they thought, that I was unruly. And I've been a bit of a rebel, I suppose, my whole life, but that's all good and whatnot. But there you go,
Yeah. So when did things start to get challenging for you with them, whether there was a break there or just your own frustration or dissatisfaction with where your career was being directed?
Well, it was after, I wasn't really down with what I started with, but it was okay. And it worked. I had the image because I was a skateboarder, surfer. And so they were like, okay, well, hey, obviously it makes sense. We're going to do a Beach Boy remake. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we did that. And honestly, and I'm being very honest here, I didn't even own a Beach Boys record.
Yeah.
And, and I wasn't really into the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
I've come to appreciate them so much more in my latter years. Pet Sounds is an amazing record, and their production and stuff. Yeah. But it's like I've always gravitated a little more towards the harder, more realistic, I think. Realistic's not the right word. I think just in my emotions and feelings, I've gravitated towards more, angry or, whatnot. But that was really the breaking point when I came back with that record from Florida, with having done it with Rick, and Tony had called a meeting and literally jumped up on the table and was like, shut up, kid, you don't know anything. We'll tell you what to do. You do what we say, and that's it. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to finish out the contract, and I'm out of here. And that's what happened, instead of moving on and doing something good, because they continued on with the same. I did 2 more records after that were terrible. For me, they were terrible.
Yeah, maybe, you were not happy with them.
I just wasn't into them.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to change and grow. I didn't want to continue being, the tight pants spandex little kid.
Right. That was where you started, but that's not who you were or where you wanted to go musically.
Right.
Yeah. So what about today then? Where is it that you want to go, either musically or career wise? I wondered, you started with movies. Are you wanting to do that again?
Yeah, that's my main focus right now is just promoting the book, but I'm also I've got a couple other things that I'm writing, and I have another book that I'm writing that would be a follow up to this, and but I want to act. I miss acting. Yeah. It's something that I really enjoyed, and I really want to do again. When I got The Outsiders, I had to earn that role. I didn't get that role because I was a teen idol.
Yeah,
and it was a big win for me. It actually made me feel good, and I had no idea at the time that I was offered a 2-picture deal contract from Paramount and Universal, and because they turned it down, the management turned it down without my even knowing about it. Didn't tell me about it, and I would have loved to have continued doing some stuff, because we could have done both, but their thinking was just concentrate on the music and that's it, and just that.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing a theme, Leif, as far as a lot of decisions got made for you, not necessarily you got to make them. So
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what it's sounding like to me.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly right. And now I'm so happy right now with my, my life as far as my career goes, even though I'm not on the A-list like I'd like to be right now, but I'm happy with that. No matter what I do, it's only going to be me with possibly, well, not even possibly, obviously that's why you have a team around you to ask advice, but making the final decisions will be me.
Right.
And that's where I want to be, because ultimately then I can live and die by the sword.
That's right. Yeah. But it'll be your choices.
It'll be my choices.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. What we talk about on the rock therapy, some of the stuff we talk about are sort of the successes as well as the challenges. And you've been, really open, and obviously with your book around, recovery stuff and what you've went through that. I don't know if you want to talk any about that, but I was curious when the, whatever you want to call it, when the fame started fading, what did you go through with that, as far as, I would imagine, any kind of anxiety or depression or anger? What happened for you?
Absolutely. It was, that was a tough time, because not only was Nicolette and I had broken up, and I was going out with Justine, and she, her career was at its pinnacle at the time.
Yeah.
And it was kind of tough, and I'm trying to think about reinventing, but I had such a strong appeal, I guess, an image for people, and it still does. Like, I'm still selling photos, and it's something that I've just realized that I don't want to do anymore. Okay. As much as I don't mind, them wanting to, own the photos from back in the day, but that's like, okay, that's 30 something years ago now,
Right.
guys.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This is now, I'm a different person, and let's, give this person a chance.
Right.
If you liked me then, give me a chance now.
Yeah.
And I understand a lot of people were very upset and have abandoned me because of my drug abuse that happened and whatnot. But that was really me numbing. It was a anesthesia. I really, I was feeling so many angry emotions that was a way of masking that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like everyone does later on, you realize that, well, hopefully they do, is that you have to deal with the issue that made you start doing it in the first place.
Right.
When I very first started trying stuff, I always thought, okay, well, my idols do it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to try it to see other different doors open up. Maybe there's a different way of thinking and stuff like that. And I've had the wonderful ability time to hang out with Timothy Leary and spoke with him quite a lot and stuff. But that's one sort of side of things. There's so many different sides of life, and there's never one track or one route that someone can take, like a freeway or a expressway or whatnot. You have to find what's right for you, but you have to deal with the things that make you. It's a problem where ritual becomes a habitual.
Yeah. Well said.
And it's. It was tough. It was really tough, and I was just masking stuff and numbing, and I'm bummed it took a long time, but at the same time, everything happens for a reason, and I believe that. And when timing is timing, fate is fate, and what happens happens. And when you make decisions, they're made when you make them for a reason. Yeah. I wasn't mature enough then to understand what I needed to do and what I needed to do to get where I want to be.
Right.
And it's only now.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's a lot of fame and a lot of stuff thrown at a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. And then suddenly, if it's gone in a few years, there's a lot of feelings. What changed with that? What was the bottom for you that you hit, Leif, that you went, okay, I need to do something different than what I'm doing?
Well, when, the car crash was something that was a big signal and a big thing. But in a weird way, I sort of skated to that too. I didn't have to do jail time it was when I went to jail. When I did 3 months in county jail, that was the bottom line, dude. That was literally, and that mugshot that haunts me still today, that is the most horrific photo that I've ever taken. And at the same time, it's the best photo that I've ever taken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really, I don't even know how to explain it unless you've been through it. Jail, first of all, is just, man, county is supposedly worse than prison. And I thank God I never went to prison, but when I've spoken quite a lot with my friend Robert Downey about it, and he went to prison for 5 years, man, and that's that was a long time.
It's huge.
But 3 months for me in county jail was more than enough. And that was just horrific. I had at one point, I was one of the guards in the prison or the county jail said, this lady guard says, so what happened to you, man? It's like, oh man, really? You can ask me that while I'm cuffed and they're taking me to my cell right now.
Oh, man.
And so they sat me down this one part, and I could hear them in the other room. They went in this other room and they shut the door, and I hear them and they're laughing and whatnot. And then they come back out and hand me a photo of me when I was younger in my heyday, and says, look at you now, you loser. It was like, wow. Thanks. That's really, but they don't treat anyone humanly there.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
It's you're treated like a worse than an animal, and animals shouldn't be treated like that anyway. I have more respect for animals than most humans, honestly.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and it sounded like you needed help and support versus punishment with that, and no one does this alone, I think. So I was curious, who were some of those people that helped you in that process to get back on the right road?
Well, my mom has always been there for me, no matter what. Dad, not so much. Dad actually, a couple times. It doesn't matter. But mom was always there, and my mom has always supported me and been my champion, no matter what. And I don't know if that's a perfect good thing or not.
Yeah.
I think it's a little of both. I probably could have used a little more discipline in my life when I was younger, honestly.
Yep.
But my mom was always there for me. And then, there's a couple of really good friends that have never left me, and then there's been the fair weather friends too. And you find out who your friends really are.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's easy for a lot of folks to get into, using substances as coping skills or tools. What are the tools that you use today that help you instead of that? What are some of those lessons that you've learned?
Sports, meditation, food. I like to cook. Masturbation.
Okay.
Only because I don't have a girlfriend right now.
Yeah, I got it.
But you got to keep regular. Anyway, things like that. It's really idle hands. The devil will find work for idle hands to do.
Right.
And I believe that, whoever the devil may be for you, for me, it was narcotics. But however you believe in, God and the devil and all that sort of thing, there's a higher power. And that higher power, I believe, is just positiveness.
Yeah.
Because I believe the energy you put out is what you get back.
Right.
And do unto others as you want done unto yourself. And I live by those.
Great. And do you have a sort of support group, a group of folks, friends, family, whoever that supports you, that when things are going well, or if you're having a tough moment, that you can turn to and call? Or
Absolutely. My cousin Peter, my mom, a couple of good friends. But that's pretty much it, and that's okay. If you've got one good friend, one person that you can really, really know will be there no matter what, and be honest with you, because I've always wanted people to tell me, look, when I'm being an ass, tell me when I'm being an ass.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want to portray myself like that.
Right.
And I believe that I probably was, sometimes when I was younger in my heyday, and that's okay. But I just wish I had some more people around me saying, instead of kissing my ass,
right,
and wanting something from me, like me to pick up the bill again with my Gold American Express at 16, tell me, the truth.
Right. Yeah, we need that feedback.
The truth will set you free. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Need the feedback, my friend. Absolutely.
You bet. Oh, this is great, Leif. Tell me a little bit about, you're wanting to do some acting. And I think I saw a YouTube video of you recently, maybe it was a while ago, but singing a Stones song, maybe Honky Tonk Woman or something. So I thought was great.
Oh, thank you. I've had my ups and downs there. I dealt with, after the narcotics, I dealt with like drinking quite a lot, but just replacing one thing with another, and realized that. And so I've, kind of dealt with that. And not kind of, I have dealt with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great release, going and doing cover songs at the Whiskey A Go Go in Los Angeles.
No way.
And it's a Tuesday night, all-star jam.
Wow.
And it's different people all the time, but I've gone up and played. It was awesome. Like I met, Robin Zander, the lead singer from, and I met him a long time at Tramps in London, and it was a long time ago, man. But and then saw him right the night he got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow, yeah.
And we played together on the stage that night, and it was just like great. It was just great. Came full circle. It was like a really cool thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great release to do that. But I also like to just get together and like I have a drum circle that I have sometimes. People come to my house, and
very cool.
We just play drums, have dinner, and whatnot.
Nice. And we're talking like djembe drums or a kit or.
No, we're talking about djembe, man. We're talking like congas, djembe, stuff like that.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, well, I'm a drummer as well, and I've got a kit and a djembe.
On.
So yeah. So
right on. Do you like the ceramic or do you like the wood? Because I've got both. And I just recently bought some. I bought one when I was in South Africa. This really killer made by a tribe. And then I bought one just recently that was a Moroccan, really cool wood and animal skin.
Wow.
But you can, they're really cool and different sizes. And you get the different tones and whatnot.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I've got a wooden one, and I haven't tried the ceramic. I'll have to try that. They also have the metal ones, which are very cool too. So
I haven't heard those yet. Are they good?
Yeah. Well, they're small.
They got a different.
Yeah, they're definitely a different sound, and they're a little bit smaller than the regular djembe.
A brighter sound, right?
Yeah,
it's like
definitely
a really
brighter.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. So, what haven't we talked about, Leif, that you before we sort of wrap up for today that you want to talk about or that you want folks to know?
If anything, and if anybody is interested in getting involved in the business, it's really important to be, and I hate to quote Mr. Trump, but it's the art of the deal. It's really important to know the business side of things so that you are not taken advantage of. Yeah. Concentrate on your art, but understand and let other people handle it, but just don't let them force you into something you don't feel right with. Don't believe your own press and just know all sides of the business that you're involved in.
Right. And it seems like that would have made a huge difference if someone was, in your corner a little bit more. Yeah. Right.
kind of. Yeah, kind of. Something like that.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, right.
But I'm really glad that things, even we all have them, the ups and downs of life, the challenges. It sounds like you're doing well today, which I'm really glad. Are you happy? It sounds like you're happy.
I'm as happy as I can be right now. Yes.
Yeah. Especially with things that are going on with your folks and just losing your dad. Again, my condolences on that.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's okay. There's if it's always sunny and bright and warm and it's monotonous. You know?
Right.
We got to have a little downtime to recognize that side.
Absolutely.
But I got to tell you, man, I didn't expect this, and I thank you. I really thank you so much, man. You really not only are you a good listener, but you ask good questions, man.
Well, thank you. I'll take that in. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you and you doing this today. So very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Very cool episode. What did you think about that? We'd love to hear from you wherever you're listening from in the world. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share it. You can check it out on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and our website, musiciansontherecord.com. Until next time, I'm David Ward. Thanks for listening.